We begin today on the Mishnah on Daf Mem Hey Amud Aleph. Zok Eilige Mishnah Taglachas Hatara Ketzad. Cutting the hair by a Nazir that was tar. The previous Mishnah spoke about the taglachas of a Nazir that became tamei, but here we speak about the taglachas of a Nazir that was tahir, and at the conclusion of his Naziris, he brings karbanis and he cuts his hair. So how is this done? Hayamevi Gimel behemoths. He brings 3 behemoths for his karbanis, which are chatas, oila, and shlomim. V'sheichet es shlomim. He shechts the shlomim first, even though the order the Tana brings them, and in the pasuk it says it in a different order, but nevertheless the shlomim is shechted first. And then the hair is cut after the blood of the shlomim is sprayed on the mizbeach. Right then, you cut the hair from the Nazir, and then you bring the other karbanis. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. In other words, according to most Rishonim, the point of here Rabbi Yehuda is saying is that you have to cut the hair after the first carbon is shechted. Which is the first carbon? The shlomim. So then you cut the hair. Rabbi Lazar says, no, the chatos is the one brought first, and that's when you cut the hair. Chatos kedemes b'chol mokem. Chatos is always first, and here as well, chatos, then the oila, then the shlomim. So he cuts his hair after you bring the carbon chatos. Now the Mishnah says, according to everybody, v'im gilach al achas mishloshtan. If you cut your hair on any one of these karbanes, yatsa, you're yaitze, which simply would mean that if you switch the order, whether you brought the chatas first, the shlomim, or the oil, whichever one you brought first, and you cut your hair on that carbon, and you always cut the hair by the first carbon, so then you'll be yaitze. Even though we just had the machlokes of how it should be done, but with the Eved, whichever one you cut your hair on, you're yaitze. Rab Shimon Gamliel says, Hevi Gimel Behemoths. Person brings 3 animals for the karbanis at the conclusion of his naziris. V'loi pirish, he didn't specify which one is for which carbon. There's 3 karbanis here, chatas, oila, and shlomim. So he brings them, but he didn't specify what they're for. So it doesn't matter. They can be brought for their karbanis. They have to be brought for, because haru'uya l'chatas tikrav chatas. The behemoth that's fit for being brought as a chatas will be brought as a chatas. So there's only the chatas has to be in a keva, a kispa. So there's only one of them that could be that chatas. So that will be brought as a chatas. La'oila, the one that's fit to be brought as a oila, which is a keves, a lamb, and it's a zachar, will be brought as a tikar vayla, brought as an oila. The shlamim, the animal that could be brought as a shlamim, which is the ayil, a ram, tikar shlamim will be brought as a shlamim. Okay, so the Gemara here will bring...
There's no doubt. We know
correct, exactly. Without him specifying, it's clear because of the kind of animal it is. So the Gemara here will bring the source of what it said in the beginning of the Mishnah, that he cut the hair after the shlomim. Tana Rabbanan, so we don't know, but I said the pasuk says, V'gilach ha-nazir pesach ha'el. The Nazir cuts his hair at the opening of the El Mayit B'gaimer. So simply this means that where does he cut his hair? He's standing inside the Chatzar or inside the Azor of the Beis HaMikdash, right at the opening of the El Mayit, and that's where he cuts his hair. So the Gemara says that's not what it means. Rather, B'shlomim HaKasav Medaber, from the fact that it says Pesach El Mayit, we learn out that the time of the cutting of the hair is after you bring the Shlomim. Why? Shenemar, because there's another pasuk where it says V'shachatu Pesach El Mayit, that by the Shlomim, the Torah also says that you bring the Shlomim Pesach Hayal Mayit. So just like it uses there the term of Pesach Hayal Mayit, so here as well when it says V'gilach hanazir Pesach Hayal Mayit, Pesach Hayal Mayit is not really coming to say the location where you cut the hair, but it's rather coming to say when you cut the hair, after you bring the Shlomim. Okay, so the Braisa explains, how do you know that's what it means? We're taking the pasuk out of its simple pshat. Or maybe Ella Pesach Hayal Mayit Mamish. Maybe it's coming to say literally that the hair should be cut inside the Azara by the opening of the El Mayit. So the answer to that is, that can't be. Because Imkain, Derech B'Zayinhu. If so, this is a disgrace to come and cut here, inside the Azara, right in front of the El Mayit. It's not appropriate to do it there. So the pasuk can't be speaking about the location. It's only speaking about the timing. Interesting, because I saw that the Stei Chemet brings, based on this Gemara, that maybe an upsharenish shouldn't be done in a shul for this reason. Just like here it says that it's bizayin to do the upsharenish of the Nazir inside the... But in the end he says, no, that it's not the same thing, and upsharenish is for the purpose of leaving the payas, for the mitzvah, so it's allowed. But it's not so clear, correct? Cutting the hair of the Nazir is also a mitzvah, right?
Where do they cut the hair?
Oh, so if it's not done, Pesach El Mayit, so there was a Lishkas Nazirim in the Ezras Nashim in the Beis HaMikdash. There was the different chambers in the corners, and there they would cut the hair. So the hair would be cut, the shlamim would be brought inside, but then right after the spraying of the shlamim, he would go and cut the hair over there in the lishkas nazirim. Rabbi Yeshi says, Ein tzarich. It's not just a logical thing that it's a disgrace. This is something we could learn out from what we see in the Beis Hamikdash. The pasuk it says, Harei Amra Torah. The pasuk says, Lisala b'mailas al mizbechi. When you go up to the mizbeach, you don't go up on stairs. So why? Because if a person goes up, the pasuk says that you'll be exposed by taking the steps up. So you go on a ramp. So if we're careful about going up on steps to mizbeach, for sure, we understand that you shouldn't be cutting your hair for the Nazir inside the Beis Hamikdash, inside the Azara. Okay, this next part here, in the brackets, was added by the printer at some stage in history, and it's the same thing that it says here in the Gemara. He just quotes from a medrash. The medrash in Parshas Nasa that says the same thing. Ein tzarich means it's not just stam. The Tanakama said logically derech b'zayin. He says ein tzarich. It's not just misvara, but you see it from a pasuk. You see it. The emphasis that the Gra actually says that Rabbi Yeshia it's all a continuation of the Tanakama. It's not a separate opinion. He makes it one thing. But most Mefarshim learn that Rabbi Yeshia is a separate opinion. Right. So, but over here, Ein Tzarech is going on the Svara, saying it's not just a Svara, but you actually have a Raya from a pasuk. Okay, so let's skip the brackets here, which is just, like I said, the same point as before, but it's just bringing it from the Medrash. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Ein Tzarech. The source, you don't need the source from the pasuk that Rabbi Yeshia just brought, what you see by the ramp of the Mizbeach, that it's not appropriate to cut the hair in the Azara. Rather, Harei Oimer, you could see this from the pasuk itself when it speaks about the Nazir, cutting his hair. Because what does it say? V'lakach hasa'ar reish nizrei. What are you supposed to do with the hair? You take this hair, and then you place it on the fire that you cook the carbon shlamim, the meat of the carbon shlamim. You place it in the fire under that pot. And where is this done? This is done, like I mentioned, in the lishkas hanazirim. They had a special chamber where they would cook the basar of the nazir. So there you have to put it in the fire. So what does that mean? That shows you that that's also the location of where the hair is cut, because it says take the hair and put it. So what that means is you have to be in a location where all you have to do is take the hair and place it there into the fire. But that would exclude this person. If he's cutting his hair inside the Azara, in Pesach El Mayid, so you're going to have to take the hair and then deliver it all the way over to the Lishkas Hanazirim and then put it in the fire. So therefore, from the context, from the way the pasuk says the mitzvah, you see that it should be done there in the Lishkas Hanazirim, where they cook the meat for the Nazir. That's where the haircut takes place as well, and it's not inside the Azara. Ikadamri, another version of what Rabbi Yitzchak said, very similar to what we just said, but Rabbi Yitzchak said, B'shlamim akasav medaber. When the pasuk says Pesach El Mayid, it doesn't mean literally that that's the location. You cut your hair inside by the Pesach El Mayid. Rather, it's just telling you that it's to be done after the shlamim, like we dashed before already. Now, that's what you understand from the words Pesach El Mayid. Pesach El Mayid mamish. Maybe it does mean literally the place of cutting the hair is in the Azara by the opening of the El Mayid. So the pasuk says you take the hair and you place it in the fire. The fact that the pasuk says he cuts his hair and he puts it in the fire, so that means that's the location. Over there where you're cooking the pat, the meat of the nazir of the shlamim, that's where you cut the hair.
So you're cooking the hair just like you're cooking.
You don't cook the hair. No cooking of the hair. The hair is placed in the fire. Under the pot in the fire, that's where the hair has to be burnt, inside that fire. So the next Mishnah will speak about this.
So you're cutting the hair in the Lishkas Hanazirim.
Yeah, and that's also the place where it's cooked, where the basar of the shlamim is cooked as well, in the Lishkas Hanazirim.
The Mizbeach and the Lishkas Hanazirim?
No, of course not.
No,
so it's not done by the Mizbeach. You take the basar from the shlamim, you bring it inside over there.
Everything inside the room.
Yeah, that's where it's cooked. Abba Chanan, now there's another opinion here. Abba Chanan says Mishum Rabbi Eliezer. that when the pasuk says "V'gilach hanazir Pesach Chayil Mayid," what does this mean? We learn from Pesach Chayil Mayid something else. He also agrees to the point that we said before that it's not coming to say that the location of where you cut the hair is inside the El Mayid. So why does it say Pesach Chayil Mayid? We don't learn out from here, like the other opinions, that it has to be after the Shlomim, but what we learn out is Kozman she'ein Pesach Chayil Mayid Pesuach Ein Megalech. When the doors of the El Mayid are not yet open, you can't yet cut your hair. So if you come very early in the morning before the El Mayid, before the Aveda inside the El Mayid was done, and the doors of the El Mayid were not open yet, so you can't cut your hair yet. You have to wait until the Karbanos are brought, when the doors of the El Mayid are open. Final opinion here. The what? The what?
How can you cut your hair if you didn't do the carbon yet?
Right.
And the carbon
Right.
is not done until they open the doors. So.
No, right here. After the carbon tamid, it's possible after the carbon tamid, before they went in to bring the ketairas, and you want to bring your shlomim right away and cut the hair before. Maybe it's possible. I mean, when was the first time they went into the base of Mikdash in the morning, into the oil mayid for the ketairas? For the ketairas, that was the first of it. The ketairas, or maybe to light the menorah or to clean out the menorah. Maybe it's possible right after the tamid, before that. So then you can't yet cut your hair. The final opinion here, he actually argues and he holds that the hair is cut inside the Azara. Rav Shimon Shezuri Yaimeh V'gila Chanazeh Pesach El Mayid. When the pasuk says you cut the hair at the opening of the El Mayid, all you learn out from here is it says Nazir, Lashon Zachar, V'loi Nizira. But you don't cut the hairs of the Nizira of a woman that's a Nazir in the Azara, open, exposed. Pesach El Mayid. That's all the pasuk is coming to say. In other words, a Nazir, a Zachar, yes, his hair is cut inside the El Mayid, and he disagrees with everything we said before, that it's a Bezayin. It's not a Bezayin. Maybe like we said before, it's a mitzvah. It's not called a Bezayin. You're not giving a person a haircut. But a woman, though, for her, it's not appropriate to cut her hair, to expose the hair in public. So her hair is cut in private in that lishka in the chamber for the Nazirim. As he says, Shema is Garaba Pirchikuna, because if you do it in public, so then this will antagonize the Pirchei Kahuna, or the Pirchei Kahuna rather will megara their Yetzer. No, what? It will arouse their Yetzirah on this woman that they see her hair being exposed. So the Gemara asks on this, why over here are we concerned about this? Amrulai, so they said to Rab Shimon, Lidvarecha, according to you, Saita Techiach, I'll prove to you from a Saita that we're not concerned about this. Techsiv Ba, what does it say by the Saita? V'amida lefnei Hashem, she's brought in front of Hashem, and over there by the Saita also, her hair is exposed and so on. And nevertheless, V'lei Chashin Hashem Yizgara Ba Pirchei Kahuna. We're not concerned that the Pirchei Kahuna will get aroused by this woman here that comes and is exposed. Amalehen, so Rab Shimon answered them, it's not the same. Zu kechelas upekeses. This Nazir, she's not being disgraced. She did a mitzvah, she was a Nazir, and now she's bringing her karbanis. She comes, she's dressed beautifully, she has makeup, and she's all beautiful. So therefore, we don't want it to be exposed in public. But Zu, when it comes to the Saita, and kechelas upekeses, she doesn't come all with makeup and dressed up beautifully. Adarabah, over there she's coming in, and they make sure that she's disgraced. So therefore, it's not going to cause any problems with the Pirchei Kahuna, with the young Kainim, and it can be done even in public. Okay, so here's the Mishnah which discusses what's done with the hair. Then you take the hair of the Nazir that was cut, and you throw it under the pot of the basar of the shlomim that's being cooked. You throw it in the fire. If the hair was not caught inside over there by the Lishkas and Nazirim, it was caught b'medina, which simply means not only not in the base of Mikdash, but it means outside of Yerushalayim. It was caught somewhere else. Right? We just said before that when it says Pesach Hayal Mayed, it doesn't have to dafka be Pesach Hayal Mayed. Right? So if you cut the hair further away, then lo yai mishalech tachas adut. So then that hair you do not throw in the fire under the carbon, because it's far away, so you don't have to throw it there into the fire. This halacha that the hair is thrown into the fire, that's only the the Nazir that's tara, meaning he kept his Naziris properly, and now we're cutting the hair at the conclusion of his Naziris. But when you cut the hair when he was Tameh, and he also has to cut his hair, and he has to start his Naziris over again, there, this halacha of burning the hair in the fire of the carbon does not apply. But Rab Meir says, Hakel mishalchin tachas adud. No, everybody, whether it's the Nazir that was tired, whether the Nazir which was Tameh, that have to cut their hair, the hair is thrown under the pot in the fire. Besides this nazir that was tameh, and he's cutting his hair, and if he cut his hair in a distant place, then he doesn't throw his hair into the fire. But that means that the nazir that was tahir, even if he did cut his hair in a distant place, he has to bring his hair and throw it into the fire.
But the nazir is tameh. What do you do with the hair?
So the hair, we're going to see soon in the Gemara, that hair actually you have to bury that hair. It has to be buried. You can't have a knot from it. Yeah. Okay, sagt the Gemara, Neutel Sa Reish Nizrai. So it's said in the Mishnah, you take this hair, you throw it into the fire. So there's another detail to this. The Gemara brings a braysa. Tan Rabbanon, besides the hair, va'achakach neutel is haroitev. You also take some gravy of the carbon shlama that you're cooking. The noisen al sa reish nizrai, and you pour the gravy onto this hair. And then you throw it into the fire under the pot of the shlamim. If you put it under the pot that was cooking meat from the carbon chatos or the carbon asham, yatsa. You'll also be yatsa. So the Gemara asks, asham benazir tahir mi ikke? Is there a carbon asham by a nazir tahir? A nazir tahir brings 3 karbanis, a chatos, eil, and a shlamim, but there's no asham. Rava says the brayso means as follows: V'im nazir tamei. If it's a nazir tamei, mishalech tachas adut shel asham. So by a nazir tamei, he does bring an asham. So then he could throw it under the fire of the asham. So yatsa will be yatsa. In other words, this Tana holds like the opinion that we brought before in the Mishnah that even a nazir tamei has to take the hairs and throw it into the fire. From where do we see this halacha here that it says in the Braise that not only the hairs have to be thrown into the fire, or the fact that the hairs have to be thrown into the fire, that it says clearly in the pasuk that you take the hair and you put it. How do you know that you have to also take from the reitiv, from the gravy of the basar, and also throw it into the fire? So makra, because the pasuk says, where do you throw the hair? You throw it into the fire. Asher tachas zevach hashlamim. That's under the zevach hashlamim. The word zevach is extra. Could have said asher tachas hashlamim. What does this mean? Mi zivchai, you take from the carbon itself, yehei tachtov. From it, you also have to throw into the fire. So therefore, you know that you take from the reitiv, from the gravy, and you pour it on the hair, and then you throw it in the fire. And then it said, v'im shilach tachas adut shel chatos yotza. If you threw the the hair and the gravy under the pot and the fire of the chatos, you also yotza. Even though in the pasuk it clearly says tachas zevach hashlamim. So how do you know that if you throw it under the pot of the chatos, you also yotza? My time. Makra zevach. Again, we learn out from the same word. It doesn't say shlamim, it says zevach hashlamim larabis chatos. Zevach means there's another carbon that will also work under the chatos and asham. It'll also work if you throw it under the fire of these 2 karbanos. For the Gemara, how can we learn out 2 different things from the same word? V'ha piktela hai zevach miraitiv, or there's a good is here liraitiv. You learn out from the word zevach to say that you take also from the gravy and throw it into the fire. Well, how are you now learning out from that word zevach that it's not only the shlamim but also the chatos or the asham? Says the Gemara, im kein le mikra reitiv ashlamim. The pasuk should have said take from the reitiv of the shlamim. If that's all it's trying to say, so it should say the gravy of the shlamim. Why my zevach? Why does it use the term zevach? Shmamina l'rabbis chatos v'asham. So that's telling you that there's another kind of carbon. Zevach means another carbon, not only the fire that's cooking the shlamim, but also the chatas and the asham. You can throw the hairs over there as well. But if so, so if because the Torah uses the word zevach and not reitiv, so maybe the Torah is only coming to teach me this, that you don't have to throw the hairs under the pot of the shlamim, but also the chatas and the asham. And it's not teaching me at all this halacha about taking from the gravy. Says the Gemara, if that would be the only thing the pasuk is teaching me, it should have said shlamim v'zevach, that you put it ala eish asher tachas hashlamim v'zevach. So then it would be saying zevach separately, that there's a shlamim and a zevach, which means chatas and ashram, that you could put it under the fire of another zevach. My zevach hashlamim shmami not tarti. So from this I learn out 2 things. The fact that it says zevach, I learn out that it's other karbanis. And it didn't say zevach afterwards, but it says zevach hashlamim. I learn out also that you take a part of the shlamim as well, which is the reitiv, and you put it in the fire as well. Tana Rabbanon and Avrai, so we learned.
So there's an extra word.
Zevach. Zevach is the only extra word, but it's not only the extra word of zevach, but it's also the order of how it's written. It doesn't say shlamim and zevach, If it would say shlamim and zavach, I would say shlamim, and then zavach you could put it onto the pots of other karbanos as well. But it says zevach hashlamim, so that's saying take a part of the zevach of the shlamim and throw it into the fire. So it's the order of the pasuk that teaches me the second halacha. Tana Rabbanan, in a brayso we learned, going back now to the other halacha, whether this applies to a nazir tummy as well, and whether this applies when the hair was cut further away, it wasn't cut in the Beis HaMikdash b'chlal. So in the brayso we learned there's a few opinions about this. So the first opinion is Hakoy lo yil mishalchen tachas adod. Everybody has to take the hair and throw it under the pot in the fire. Chutz mitameh shegilach b'medina. Besides, a nazir that was tameh, that cut his hair far away in Medina, outside Yerushalayim, and he doesn't bring his hair to throw it into the fire. His hair actually, what do you do with it? It has to be buried. Not let have a from it, and it has to be buried. Divrei Rab Meir, this is Rab Meir's opinion. Rabbi Yehuda says, Tahayrim, only a nazir that are tahayrim, whether kan v'kan, whether they cut the hair inside the Beis HaMikdash there, in the place where you're supposed to, in the lishka of the nazir, or kan means if they cut their hair far away, hoy mishalchen. Either way, the hair has to be brought and be thrown into the fire. Tmeim, but the nazirim that are tamei, kan v'kan, whether they cut the hair inside the Beis HaMikdash or whether they cut the hair far away, lo yoy mishalchen. A nazir tamei never throws the hair inside the fire. The Chachamim say, Hakoil lo yoy mishalchen tachas adod. Nobody would throw the hair under the fire, chutz min toir shebemikdash, unless you're a nazir toir and you're there in the Beis HaMikdash, you're there in the room where it's supposed to be cut. Because only then you did it properly in its right place. And this goes back really to what the Gemara said before on Amar Aleph, that when the pasuk says that you put it under the fire, what does it say? V'lokach, and then it says v'nosan. Not that you have to deliver it from a different place. So only if you're there in that location, then you have to throw it inside the fire.